Hey guys, in a nutshell with me, Ina, we all know that there have been so many changes patungkol sa international student program. Ayan, yung pag-i-issue ng student permit, visas, and also yung post-graduation work permit. Okay. Alam nyo ba, ang isa sa mga suki natin dito sa programa has been in touch, let's put it that way, no, sa IRCC, specifically sa mga opisyal nila handling these issues, yung student permits, etc. At eto, ikukwento niya sa atin na naiparating na niya at ng iba pang mga abogado katulad niya ang maraming mga concerns tungkol sa pag-i-issue ng student visas, permits, PGWPs, and the good news is IRCC is listening and promising to make things better, Lu. Tama ba? Una sa lahat, sino yung nakausap mo ninyo, Lu, ng inyong grupo?
So, bigyan natin ng context. Actually, literally a few hours ago, I just got back to home base. Galing ako ng Victoria, British Columbia. Very beautiful city. Oh my God. Shout out din lang sa isa sa clients ko na so kind. They dropped by my hotel pala, tapos they left like a sweater. Thank you, Brian and Addy. Much appreciated. Sorry I couldn't, get to see you. But long story short is, yun nga, there was the Canadian Bar Association's annual National Immigration Summit or conference rather. And yours truly was, luckily invited as a panelist speaker dun sa panel on study permits and post-grad work permit program. And one of our co-panelists is a director at IRCC. Sila ngayon nagpapatakbo ng International Student Program at ng post-grad work permit program. So in that panel, basically we went through some of the issues. So si Miss De Jaeger, she basically went through presenta niya yung mga changes. She confirmed, so mga nag-aalala dyan, magbabago pa ba ng bonggang-bongga ang mga programs? She confirmed naman na, but don't hold her to this because we don't know, it's politics din kasi, diba? But basically, they don't foresee any major changes for the programs nga. But there will be tweaking. And tinanong namin, so saan ang mga tweaking? Saan yung mga maliliit na pagbabago? Ito na yung labor market needs. So, kinonfirm din nila yung suspicion ko na largely yung program or field of study requirements for PGWP is really tied to the express entry category-based occupations.
Okay.
So,
and
it's
how
interesting.
It's going to be for a long time.
It's how it's going to be. Yes. Foreseeable kasi nakita nila yung impact ng changes. Bumaba talaga yung intake ng international students, nag-stabilize to pre-COVID levels, 2019 levels basically. Nandun ulit tayo. And what's happening now is they want to make sure that they want to basically get to the committed target of 5% for temporary residents in Canada. Kasi right now, we're still at 7%. So it's interesting kasi, yun nga, panelists nag-present and naiparating nga namin, nag-hypotheticals kami, shinare namin yung mga kaso namin. Obviously, anonymously, there were other lawyers there na mga nasa audience. They were sharing their clients' hardships. Kasama dito yung na-refuse ng PGWP kesyo may mga mental health issues, hindi nakapag-study full-time. Yun din kasi yung bulk ng PGWP issues ng mga clients ko. So, we already made submissions in the past to IRCC, pero pakiramdam namin, hindi nakikinig. Pero this time around, parang, dahil nga pumunta yung director, na i-presenta namin in person, the conversation has started. And I'm happy to report that they're listening and they want to make sure that the program continues to be able to be tweaked para mai-acknowledge and ma-fix yung mga problems.
Ayan. Baka sa mga viewers natin, if you have inputs, baka meron din sila mga suggestions, Lu, no? I would like to see them in the comment section, no? Lu will read them. Who knows, he might have, or likely he will have more meetings with, officials concerned with the International Student Program. Put them down there in the comment section. Ano ba mga pagbabago ang gusto ninyong makita tungkol sa International Student Program, tsaka sa pag-issue ng PGWP? Na-discuss ba, Lu, ang efforts ng IRCC to determine real students versus those just using the program, the international student program, to land in Canada and then do something else. Alam niyo na yung sinasabi ko, no? May mga gumagawa
Yes.
din yan.
Direct,
Napag-usapan ba yun?
not directly but indirectly. So, pinag-usapan namin is program integrity. So, alam na natin kung
Okay.
saan papunta, di ba? Yung ginigame yung student para makapasok lang.
Yeah.
So, ito yung yung changes na isa sa pinaka-recent is yung changing DLIs, di ba? Dati kasi,
Oh.
ang study permit nakalagay DLI Ontario. So, halimbawa, nakapasok ka sa Centennial, pero gusto mo magpalit ng programa, nasa Seneca, okay lang na hindi na kailangan magpalit ng work ng study permit rather kasi nakasulat sa permit DLI Ontario. Ngayon, strict na ang IRCC na kung saang DLI ka nag-a-attend, yun na nakasulat sa permit. And ang net consequence nito, ang epekto nito, is that when people change DLIs, they need to alert IRCC. In fact, they cannot transfer kaagad. They need a new study permit. Diba? So, ang epekto nito, yung reporting mechanism, mas madaling natatrack ng IRCC kung nasa saan ba talaga ang mga estudyante. In-admit ni Director De Jager na dati kasi nahirapan sila i-track kung nasa na ba talaga yung student. Dahil nga ngayon nakatali sila sa DLI nila, alam na kung saan sila. At kung naglaho sila sa balat ng lupa, alam na kung sino yung nag-AWOL sa school, na alam din malamang ng IRCC kung sino yung mga non-compliant.
Yeah, I hope they are pursued rin, ano. Tama literally, naglalaho na lang yung ibang students. I recall several months ago, there were reports of students na MIA. Hindi na lang alam kung nasa na, hindi na nahanap dahil hindi na lang pumasok. Wala bang update doon? Oo nga, no, Lou, are they, nasa na sila? Nahanap na, may effort ba to find them, to locate them, diba?
I mean, yeah, nag-underground siguro sila. May mga ganun Pero yung mas madalas ko rin naririnig, yung papasok sa simula ng course, lilitaw na lang sa finals. So, imagine kung kagrupo mo sila sa group assignment, di ba? Di ka ba naman mabaliw?
Oo. Correct. Kaya nga, alam nyo, yung mga international students daw dito, gustong-gusto kapag groupmate nila yung mga Pilipino dahil hindi tayo gano'n na maglalaho. Actually, our students here excel. Kaya it's so sad na naaapektuhan sila sa nagiging, impression sa international students sa gawain ng iba. Okay, which brings me to my next question, Lou. Ito, out of curiosity, baka rin ma-discuss mo ito in your future meetings. But how about the idea of a country cap for international students? Is that possible? Is that something you think that may be considered too?
From a government policy perspective, I think that is highly, highly problematic. Kasi that is a classification that might not necessarily pass the anti-discrimination provisions of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Oh, all right.
Diba?
Okay.
Kailangan may legitimate public policy purpose ang discrimination. Kasi dalawang part yung Section 15 of the Charter. Yung first part, sinasabi na bawal to make classifications unless savable by Section 2. Na yun nga, may legitimate public purpose ito. For example, affirmative action is legitimate ground. Diba? Or talagang kung talagang merong legitimate basis for classifying genders, masisave siya ng subsection 2.
I see. Parang akala ko, Lou, merong some sort of a country cap policy in Quebec. Was that right? Am I right? Parang meron sila.
It's language.
Sa draw, not for the international student. Oo.
Sa language, usually napupunta yun. Siguro yung impression it's country, but it's most likely it's language. Because at the end of the day, merong mga countries na mas madami yung francophone concentration than none. Diba? So, is language a legitimate ground for public policy exemption sa charter? The answer is yes. Because there's universal distinction that Quebec is considered as a nation within the nation of Canada. So, merong legitimate grounds to preserve the special role of French in Canadian society.
Okay. Last question ko na lang, Lou. Ikaw, are there specific things that you will push for in your
Yes,
future things that you think will help improve the lives of, potential international students, yung mga nagpaplano pa lang magpunta.
absolutely. So, ang
Mm.
unang siguro pinaka-ipupush ko dito, and actually I'm glad that Director Dieger is like opening doors nga for this, is we're going to push for making certain exemptions for people who are going through mental health crises, for example.
Mm.
Kasi meron kasing requirement for post-grad work permit applications na kailangan at all times full-time ka nung student ka.
Yeah.
Tapos dapat
Yeah.
compliant ka. Ang problem kasi sa mental health crisis, 'di ba? It's not apparent. Sometimes nasa gitna ka ng crisis, hindi mo pala alam that you're suffering from it pala, 'di ba? Tapos later on mo na lang
Yeah.
marirealize na actually I went through a terrible time. Ito yung pangyayari. I was suffering severe anxiety. I was having panic attacks. But after the fact, so meron ka bang doctor's note for that? Did you go for therapy? There's usually stigma associated with mental health issues, 'di ba? So sana mag-outline ng IRCC ng clear policies about this. We've basically fought for clients in the past in that regard. We had some success, and then later on medyo naghigpit ng IRCC. So dito tayo punta doon sa sinasabi ko na inconsistent yung application, and the policies are also vague. So hopefully ito yung opportunity natin to make some positive changes to the system na ma-acknowledge ng IRCC na gawa sila ng narrow exception for folks who suffer from this.
Yan, okay. Well, I hope, sige, at least we have a Lou. Again, kung meron kayong ibang mga inputs or suggestions, put them down there, guys, in the comment section. Si Lou, I know he responds, sa inyong mga nagko-comment dyan. Oo, lalo na kung may tanong kayo sa kanya, you can ask him there too. He visits the comment section every so often. So anyway, we will end this episode here. Short but sweet. Thank you so much, immigration lawyer Lou Dangsalan. Maraming salamat. We'll end this episode here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!